Well, my name is Anthony Beckford. I am a single father, a union member, Marine Corps veteran, city council candidate, community leader, organizer, mentor, son of Jamaican immigrant parents.
I'm the president and co-founder of Black Lives Matter Brooklyn. BLM is a movement. BLM is the new civil rights movement. BLM is the new human rights movement. BLM is having adequate education for the Black community. BLM is getting our reparations, which is not just getting a check. It means having equity, having the opportunities that we deserve to have, being able to be empowered, to be able to have ownership. BLM means being able to stand up against all the injustices and correcting the wrongs. Being able to value life, to be able to teach about life, to be able to teach history and love oneself. BLM means empowerment of the Black community and the Black people. BLM means accountability and a pushback against, systemic racism and injustices throughout not just the court systems, but also through policies and life in general. BLM means the great hope for future generations. The world has been feeling, this movement. And the movement is not controlled by anybody. The movement doesn't have a leader. Groups may have leaders, but the movement doesn't have a leader. The movement is the people in general. The movement is the beliefs and the ideology of the people to be truly liberated and free, to be able to have opportunities to no longer be, impoverished, to no longer be brutalized, to no longer be murdered, to no longer be underserved, to no longer face disparities. That's what BLM is. That right there, that's the Black national flag right there. That's empowerment of the people. We have to look at the fact of the empowerment that it shows us, the sense of culture, the sense of belonging, the sense of being, to organize as one and move as one. Be able to honor the blood that was sacrificed, for the people, to be able to honor the power of your melanin and your Blackness, and to love it, to be able to honor the land of where you came from, the land that was your birth, that gave birth to your ancestors. The RBG flag is a reminder to me every day too about the need for a Black history curriculum in our public schools, that where our youth can learn who they are and where they came from, to learn that their ancestors were not slaves, they were enslaved. To say you are something it means you had a choice in the matter. The hood could definitely trust me. I've never forgotten, never abandoned, never lied about where I came from, and was never ashamed from where I came from. I'm out here suffering like everybody else, and I try to help out many in the community as much as possible to provide a way out. And not a way out with just with leaving our community, but a way out of the struggle, a way out of poverty. And only together we can make that difference. I am what many, have called the voice of the voiceless, the voice of the silenced, because we tend to be forgotten. Oh, they remember us every 2 to 4 years during an election. Other than that, they don't know who we are. They don't care to know who we are. I'm out here every single day. I'm out here providing food services to fight against the food insecurities. Out here handing out PPEs. Out here, battling against crooked landlords. Trying to find out, who can provide this type of childcare or this immigration service or this legal service for community members. Talking to our youth every day, like, let's have a permanent ceasefire. Let's stop killing each other and focus more on building each other up. Here's the opportunities I'm able to provide our youth. They're never, they're unheard. They're ignored. I've provided platforms for many of our youth so they can be heard, they can be seen. I'm out here. I had this plan. It is called my first 60, because everybody goes for this 100-day thing. I like to be different and bolder in my approach. My first 60 days, I will make sure that we do have budget justice in our community. Just recently, it was discovered that the incumbent in this district siphoned out $1.4 million of our discretionary funding for this district out to organizations outside of our district, to projects outside of our district, and left us only $200,000. That right there is injustice. So it's about bringing budget equity and budget justice back to the community and back to organizations that have been providing critical and crucial services, for our community members. The next thing put in place on a citywide level was our Save Our Youth initiative, which is to provide more employment to our youth. Bring that employment to mean something, not just to get a check, but an opportunity at the end of the day, to be mentored along the way. And not just go work a few hours, collect a check, and then go home, and go buy sneakers. No, learn how to invest and so forth. And that right there will help keep them out of the gangs and keep them out, and keep them away from the gun violence and minimize it drastically. The next thing to introduce into law, rent rollbacks, 35% rent rollbacks for tenants, property tax rollbacks for our small homeowners, so that way their property taxes will not be these ever-increasing property taxes. The next thing, we hold the police more accountable. My cop watch bill, which is to basically punish many of these officers for many of these infractions and violation of life, violation of rights that they've been committing, to make sure that we hold them accountable, to make sure that they're not able to just go out there and, murder an unarmed person and feel that they can retire, right away and gain a pension. No, it doesn't work like that. But to make sure that any lawsuits against the city, a portion of that is taken out of these officers' pensions as well, too. I call that the Act Right bill, because that will teach them to act right. And it's just so much that I'm looking to do within the first 60 days. And it's just not just myself. There's others who are running, who we built this coalition, and we're going to, introduce it together and co-sponsor each other's bills. But also there's my team, and there's also community organizations and my fellow advocates that will help, make the noise and bring the pressure and bring the lobbying efforts forward as well, too. Especially a lot of organizations who have endorsed me. We're going to bring the noise, and answer the demands of the people. So there's a lot, but it can be done. Literally, when they said the pen is mightier than the sword in legislation, that is very true. We need to stop the privatization of NYCHA. Stop the privatization of public housing. Section 8 and Section 9 are not the same program. Public housing is protected by Section 9. Section 8 belongs in private buildings. It belongs in homes, to where homeowners can be able to, lease out, apartments within the homes that they have, and and gain Section 8 for that. Section 9 needs to be protected, so that way public housing can be protected. That way you don't have to worry about now having a private landlord, a private developer that's going to kick you out. That's not going to provide the repairs you need. So we need full funding to provide full funding for public housing everywhere, especially here in New York. I am definitely supportive of that. The city and state needs to do its job too. So that's one of the things I will be fighting for, to make sure that we provide the funding for NYCHA, make sure that we clean up the whole management of NYCHA, so that way we actually have true management that's actually going to be there to make sure the repairs are done, to make sure that the workers' rights are respected, and make sure that tenants are actually able to live in safe housing. Make sure that they have boilers that work, so that way they don't have to go through years of severely cold winters and lack of heat and hot water. And also make sure that we clean it up and provide more play spaces inside there in community centers, and open up all the community centers, within NYCHA. It's a first step in stopping the war on drugs against black people. We have been demonized, criminalized, lengthy sentences for no reason, property confiscated, lives ruined, and the fact of the legalization, it helps to get past that part. But we need to make sure that the vendors, that the license owners of these businesses, that it first is offered, to black community members, to black business owners, so that way that dollar stays within our communities. And the taxes taken from that need to be used for our communities, for the infrastructure in our communities, for the services we need in our communities, for the resources in our corporations are not the ones getting first dibs at the table, because then we'll go through the same cycle again. It is time for us to break that cycle. If we're going to truly get justice out of this, we have to do it right. And if the federal level, they don't want to do it right, then the state level will have to do it right. And the state level want to take long, want to drag the feet on it, then on the local level, we're going to have to, do as much as possible on our end, to make sure that we get what we need. We just need to work together on all levels to make sure that the outcome is what the people are demanding. That goes along with my housing justice plan, with the property tax rollbacks. We're making sure that, the homeowners are not paying for what the city should be paying for when there's damage in the street or damage to the water pipes. Making sure that we bring down the cost of water bills, make sure we bring about a public utility system so that way our homeowners and our tenants are not paying these high-cost utility systems, but then also making sure that we bring rent rollbacks, so that way, there can be truly affordable housing where you're not choosing whether, you want to pay for public transportation or pay to put food on the table for your family or to pay your rent. But also getting rid of this MIH that the mayor put in, getting rid of this foolish AMI calculation has us at a high average median income when that is not our average median income, because they're putting all 5 boroughs plus Westchester County and Suffolk County into the calculations. No, that needs to be community to community basis, a zip code to zip code basis. And you'll see that many times our average income, you say, oh, it's 85,000 or 75,000, where you find out in many of our communities it's actually 28,000, 38,000, 32,000, and based to housing based on that. But making sure that we have a majority of the buildings. I'm going for 100% of affordable, low to moderate income housing. And if the developers can't agree on that, then they can't build. But making sure that we stop going to for-profit and utilize non-profit developers to replace them with non-profit developers, so that way, the people can have that, have the opportunity to have that 100% affordable, low to moderate income housing. Protecting, black property owners, making sure that these banks could, stop with their predatory lending, bringing in more supportive housing, turning shelters into permanent housing, turning these abandoned buildings and these abandoned hotels into permanent housing as well too. Expanding the amount on the FEPS voucher, so that way you're not going to a place and they're looking at your voucher and your voucher says $500. No, that's ridiculous. Reflect how much it costs to live in that space. Oh man, put it like this. I've always been a big Ewan fan. I was a big John Starks fan. Man, I remember watching the time when Manute Bowe tried to fight John Starks and stuff. I was in the nosebleed section and so forth. What's so ill about that is I actually like both teams. We needed something fresh, because Knicks are in Manhattan. We needed something here in Brooklyn, man. Like we needed to show some hope and so forth in Brooklyn, so I bring them both. I love seeing them both play against each other. I wish we had a bigger winning streak for both of them. We need some rings here, and if any or even both of them could bring them rings to New York, then so be it, man. Like, we got to be invested in this. Hey, I'll be at both parades. I'll go to both parades. I'll go to both arenas.
Well, my name is Anthony Beckford. I am a single father, a union member, Marine Corps veteran, city council candidate, community leader, organizer, mentor, son of Jamaican immigrant parents.
I'm the president and co-founder of Black Lives Matter Brooklyn.